Today we're going to be working on making candles for our own use at home. Going to start small. This is something that I haven't done before, so we're going to learn together. I did Google instructions, and I also watched some YouTube videos. So after doing all that, I got a list of supplies that I needed. I ordered, this is a pound of soy wax, and I find that according to the videos and the information that I found online, that soy wax burns very clean, so you'll have less of a sooty mess in the house when you're burning candles. Along with the soy wax in the same package, and I bought it on Amazon. I'll put in the comments exactly which package I got if you're interested in getting it. So it also came with some wicks, cotton wicks, and the little stickies that go in the bottom of the jar for the wicks to stand in, and it came with a wick guide to hold the wick when you're pouring the wax. So we're going to be putting that in one of our jars. So what are you going to use as a jar? I've been actually saving jars from old candles. Here's a candle that I'm done with, and what I'm going to do with this is I'll put it in the refrigerator for about a half hour. When the wax is nice and cold, if you just take a knife and poke it, that wax will break up. It's very easy to get out. The hard part is with a knife you're going to have to nudge the wicks on the bottom because they are glued on, and every candle you'll find that they're glued to the bottom of the jar. My husband also saved a jar that he had. It's really pretty. It's nice and thick. I think thick glass is safe. You know it's not going to break from the heat. So I will be using this for a candle. I have some big jars that are empty that I took the candles out, and in the future I'll use that. Today I'm going to use a mason jar. I love mason jars. Mason jars are so cool because you can put anything in them. This was actually a jar that I had in my toolkit, and I had screws and nuts and bolts and nails, and so I cleaned it out, put it in the dishwasher. It's nice and clean, and I'm going to glue, probably with Gorilla Glue, I'm going to glue the top on here because I don't want it coming off. I want it to be one piece because when I put my candles out, I have very sensitive smoke detectors. My smoke detector will go off, so I put the cover on my candles as soon as I blow them out. So what else am I going to need? I'm going to need a double boiler. I don't have one, but I do have an old pan, and this pan, even though I love it, I'll just get another pan to replace it, is going to be designated only for candles because if you get wax in there and you don't want to be cooking with that afterwards. And I bought, this is a 2-quart measuring cup that I'm going to be putting the wax in. So I'm going to be putting water in here and the wax in here, and I'll show you how we do it when we get to that. And the last thing that we're going to need is some fragrance. So I have some fragrances. This is Fall Spice, and this is Good Essentials Oil. So I have, this is Fall Spice, I have Harvest Spice. Yes, I like the scents in the fall. I know not everybody does, but I do. And this is Autumn Walk. So we'll be putting some nice scent in there. And you also are going to need a thermometer to put in the wax as it melts. And I have this thermometer that I got on Amazon. I get everything on Amazon. You know, this is 2020. It's the end of the year, and it hasn't been the best year for people. And so I'm doing something that I always wanted to do, and that's candle making. And so I've been doing all my shopping on Amazon to stay out of stores and to stay healthy. And so this is a digital thermometer, and we'll be using this. It's a food thermometer, but I'm going to be using it for the wax. And the last thing we're going to need is some old towel, or I'm going to be using brown paper bags. You could use paper towels because you want the area where you're going to do your actual mixing and pouring. You want that to be covered. You don't want to get wax all over your countertops. So you're going to cover it with something that it's fine if it gets messed up. And then you'll need something to stir your wax. And I'm going to be using chopsticks. I have a drawer full of chopsticks. We enjoy sushi, and whenever we order it, it comes with chopsticks, which we don't use. So I'm going to be putting those to use and using that to stir my wax. So stick around and we'll start it. So I've added water to my pot, and it's about 1/3 full. We don't want to make it full of water because it will go over. I'm using a heavy glass measuring cup to put my wax in. And so the first thing we're going to do, and we'll do that later, but the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our wick in the jar. So I have this mason jar, and you can see at the bottom of this mason jar, there's a circle which is absolutely in the middle of the jar. So what I am going to do is take one of these sticky things that come with the wicks and the wax, wicks and wax, and I'm going to put it on the bottom of the wick and take the backing off of this. That's a little tricky. Okay. And we're going to put this right in the middle. I'm going to put it upside down so I can see that this is going right over that center. And we're going to press it down. So this is going to hold our wick in place. So we have our wick in the jar. It's secured on the bottom. And we have it in our wick guide so that when we pour the hot wax in there, the wick is going to stay in place. It will be standing straight. And we'll leave that on there until it cools down. So I have my digital thermometer ready. I'm going to take the casing off of it. And what I'm going to do is put the wax in here and start getting it heated. Once the wax reaches 180 to 185 degrees, we will be able to put our scented oil in there. And you want it to be warm enough so that you get the full effect of the scent. And I'm putting my measuring jar filled with wax in there. I have a chopstick. This is going to be what I'll be using to stir my wax around. Right now I'm just breaking it up because there's some clumps in there. So we will be stirring this, and we'll be taking the temperature of the wax as it starts to melt. So this is an impromptu double boiler. So there is a pour temperature, and like I told you, I Googled this, I read it, I watched some videos. There are really informative videos out there. I hope that this will be one of them, but we're doing this together. I'm very excited to make my first candle. So you want to have a pot that's going to be designated for your wax melting and candle making, only because I do see that, little shards of wax are going into the water, and they're going to be on the pot. You just don't want to take chances if you're going to cook in it afterwards. You don't want to do that. So a cheap pot that you can get and use as a double boiler. Just designate one pot for this. You can get a pouring pot that you can put in there. They're made out of metal. Now don't forget, you want to have either a brown paper bag or paper towels on the surface where you're going to actually be doing your pouring. You don't want to get wax all over your countertop. And the wax is starting to melt. I'm so excited. Now you could use any kind of designated spoon, or a wooden spoon, a metal spoon, anything that you have to stir your wax. Like I said, I'm using a chopstick. I think a lot of people have a drawer full of chopsticks. I can't be the only one. If you have a double boiler at home, or if this is something that you feel like you're going to be doing a lot of, you may want to get a double boiler, or they have electric wax melters. So we're going to get our hot wax up to 180, 185 degrees, and then we're going to put in our fragrance. Now, the fragrance, there is a whole formula of how much fragrance you should put in, but being this is our first candle, we're going to just play it by ear. So the fragrance basically should be 1/10 of the volume of your wax. So I'm going to put my thermometer in here. So it's about 118 degrees right now. So at 180 degrees, we're going to add our oils. So fragrance temp, 180 to 185. Pouring temp is going to be about 140 degrees. And the reason for that is anything higher than that and you're going to be getting air bubbles, which we don't want. Right now our wax is about 135 degrees. And all of our wax is almost melted. We have our setup over here. I have a brown paper bag. So I have my jar set up. And when this gets down, we're at 180 now. So we want to come down to 140, which is the perfect temperature for pouring our candle. Temperature is slowly coming down. I'm just keeping an eye on it. I don't want to miss that pouring point. And this candle is going to be clear, but going forward, I'm going to be stealing some crayons from my grandson so we can put some colors in there. And all you need are a couple of crayons. They are made out of wax, and that will add color to it. So I will either go to 7-Eleven and buy a box of Crayola, or I will see what my grandson has lying around that he is not using. So we'll be pouring soon. So I would say it takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes for the wax to come down from 180 to 185 degrees to 140, where we want to have the perfect temperature for pouring and not getting air bubbles or anything in there that's going to mess up our candle making. Okay, we're getting close. I think it's just a matter of seconds before we get down to between 140 and 145. This is the perfect temperature to pour. You have less of a chance of getting bubbles. Right now we're at 145.1 and dropping quickly. So excited. I have been waiting to do this for years. Candle making, I love candles. My husband loves candles, we love candles, and we're always getting deliveries and what's in the box, honey? Oh, candles. So now we're going to be making our own. Maybe not we, maybe just me, that's okay. And we're there. We're at 142.5. I am taking out my thermometer. I'm cleaning the wax off of it, shutting it off. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the moment we've been waiting for. We are going to pour our wax. And here we go. I am going to hold on to the wick. Now we're saving a little wax in case there's any indentations on top. We're going to pour the rest of the wax in there. If we have to heat it up to melt it, we will do that. So I have a little wax in here just to top it off once it settles. So my wax doesn't seem to have any bubbles in it, so I'm going to just take the remainder of what I have here in the jar, pour it in there. So we're going to let this sit overnight, and tomorrow when it's all done and hardened and ready to burn, we're going to snip the wick down to about 1/4 inch and we'll light it together. See you then. So here is our candle. It's all settled. We clipped the wick down to about 1/2 inch and here goes. There we go. That is our candle. We did it. Please be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching our video. There's a lot more to come, so make sure you subscribe. Bye, everyone.